deeply concerned with the loss of life among civilians, especially among children. Palestinians have a right to live in security and to live in peace, just as Israelis do. And so we are working hard to encourage all sides to stand down, to de-escalate, to return to calm.
Well, Yaser Alashqar is an assistant professor of conflict studies and the Middle East. He's joining us from Dublin in Ireland now. Thanks so much for joining us. Yaser, we just heard there from the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, who said Palestinians have a right to live in peace just as Israelis do. Why then has the international community continued to fail Palestinians?
Well, the international community has continued to fail the Palestinians, since 1917, when Palestine has been turned into a national home for Jewish people, and later on it became the State of Israel. The international community continued to support Israel, and the international community continued to turn a blind eye to Israeli human rights violations against the Palestinians in the occupied territories. Now, you've mentioned the US Secretary of State. I'm not surprised about what he's been saying. The US is a strong ally of the State of Israel, and the US continues to provide military and diplomatic protection for the State of Israel, and it continues to provide arms and weapons and diplomatic support and financial support. Also, the Biden administration so far hasn't put any pressure on the Israeli government to stop its escalation and its aggression and its assault against the Palestinian people in all over Palestine. So that is problematic in terms of the US position and in terms of also the international pressure that should be put on the State of Israel to take steps forward and to stop the aggression against the Palestinian people and recognize their political rights. If you look at also at the European position is very weak. And the European position is linked to the US position. So Europe is divided and can't do anything. Europe is providing financial aid to the Palestinians, but at the same time, Europe is involved in trade and economic affairs with the State of Israel. So at the international level, so far, what we have been seeing is really a total failure to support Palestinian rights and to stop the human rights violations against the people of Gaza and the people of Palestine in general.
So do you think that it should be a priority for the US and the EU, or do you think that there are other regional players in this conflict who need to take the lead in trying to find some sort of resolution?
I think the EU and the EU has a very important role to play. There are European countries that support the State of Israel, that have strong relations with the State of Israel. But at the same time, Europe is divided. Europe cannot take a clear position and a political position on the Palestinian issue because of the US pressure and also because of the fact of what happened in the past, and they're still feeling guilty about the Jewish problem in Europe. Now, the Palestinians did not cause the Holocaust, did not cause the Jewish problem in Europe, but now, unfortunately, they are paying the price for that. So we need Europe to take a stronger position to support Palestinian rights and to stop the Israeli aggression against Palestinian people. We need the US as well to take a clear position on human rights violations in Palestine. But as I said, because of the geopolitical interests and the fact that Israel is a strong ally of the US, the United States has been willing to facilitate the Israeli attacks and the Israeli occupation of Palestinian land.
Okay, Yaser Alashqar, thank you so much for joining us on the programme. Thanks for your thoughts.